Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin coming at you with just a couple of little projects I recently did. This, I have to use my pink camo mug to keep these from rolling, but this is one of those little projects. I have a mini hacksaw that's probably no longer than this, and I actually used it to cut some of the sections off of these two antennas, which are no longer useful to me because I don't have anything to put them on, because I didn't bring a TV when I came to this apartment. But these are the other project. So anyway, and then I trimmed a little bit of wood pieces with these, cutting off some bad bits, and then I scraped a tiny bit of fat wood just to see how well that would work. So pardon the color, but I super glued, so I cut those two blades that I doled in half. Well, they're not exactly even cuts, but I suck at cutting anyway. But so I actually glued the four pieces together to make a striker, and I tested it out on a couple of different, a ferro rod, and it does work. And I ran it over it. Then I ran it over a few times on one of my, I have a coarse file, so I ran it over that. A fair number of times, not a whole lot. I didn't spend like 3 hours doing it, but I ran it over that file, maybe 20, 30 times, something like that. And then I hit it on the ferro rod so it does strike. So anyway, so I super glued these together, and I made sure to get, and I put a fair amount of the glue on the back just to get a little extra strength back here. But eventually there's going to be a handle that this is going to get into. So I'm going to find some piece of wood that I don't want to burn, and hopefully get some epoxy at one point to glue that into. I do not have a drill, so I don't know how I'm going to figure that out. I have a small cordless screwdriver, and maybe I'll try putting a drill bit in that. My drill got stolen quite a few years ago, but I still kept the bits, because the bits are in a separate container in my toolbox. So, but anyway, I made a striker, and because these blades are thin, I decided to glue all four of the pieces together to give it a little bit of rigidity. So that is one project. And now to these antennas. So I cut some of the sections off because I wanted to make a bellows for, concentrating airflow onto a fire when I'm, try to get a fire going. And then I had this foam tube that was on something else. I cut it in half, and I cut the ends of the antennas off so that they would be hollow. And what I can do is I can pull the section out, basically double the length if I really need to. And I super glued these foam tubes onto here. I put glue on the inside of the foam, as well as on the steel, the antenna, and then I put glue on this end here. So I have two of these. One is slightly different than the other because I wanted to make it where I could extend it even longer, but only the one section pulls out on this one. Actually, yeah, they got stuck for a second, but the thin section got pulls out, but this one does not. But that's okay because it gives it a little bit of rigidity. So I would have a more concentrated, so the hole is a lot narrower. Oh, dang it, it dropped. So these, I'm actually going to take both of these to the camp with me because I'm going to test out both versions of this to see which one works better at trying to blow some air into the base of the fire. So I just thought I'd come on and show you these little projects that I did. And so as soon as I can get something, a piece of wood or something I can use as a handle, and some epoxy, that'll probably have to wait for a little while. But who knows when that'll happen, but that will eventually happen. But anyway, so striker out of dulled mini hacksaw blades, and two old-fashioned rabbit ears turned into the not quite pocket bellows, but they're small enough that they're thin enough they can slip easily into a pack. So these are going into my Polish rucksack over there, which I'm doing some rearranging of. I will do a video series on how I'm packing for this trip, because this is a large group camp, so and I'm arranging for a ride with someone who has a truck so I can take my cot. But anyway, so I'll be doing some videos on how I'm packing and why I'm taking so much for this particular trip. So that will come in the future. So as soon as I get things the way I want, I'm experimenting with packing things with what I have, you know, and how it will be, you know, efficient, the most efficient way to arrange things in there. That is a Polish 75-liter unissued army rucksack with load lifters. It's got a sternum strap, it's got a waist belt, it's got a lid with a small pocket. I showed it in a previous video when I first got it, and I found a couple of things recently that I didn't know about it. Like it had a dividable, it had a divider section I could use at the bottom if I wanted to, but I'm not for this particular trip. And I have a couple of things on the side, but I think the straps go the wrong way for what I think, but I may bungee them so that they stand straight up. But anyway, so I'm still messing with that to get that the way I want it, see what way works best. But anyway, so here are a couple of ideas. If you have one of those mini hacksaws, or even just a normal size hacksaw, and you have the blades that are dulled, you can't sharpen them, cut them. If they're these mini blades or super thin, cut them and glue the pieces together to make it stronger, to give it a little bit more rigidity. And I put glue down the back of this to make sure that any gaps in between the pieces are filled, and just to give it a little extra strength, and take rabbit ears or any other antennas, cut the solid ends off, file it down or sand it down so it's a little bit not so rough on the ends. And if you can find something to glue on the end that you would put in your mouth to make it more comfortable. Keep dropping them, dang it. Sorry about that. So find something like this, or just wrap foam around it, or maybe put a whole crap load of duct tape around it. I don't know, whatever works. Do that, and you got yourself some fire bellows to blow air at the base of your fire in a way that you won't end up eating smoke. So there's a couple ideas for you. Thanks for watching, and catch you on the flip side.